Hi there, witches. Tiffany here on Bewitching.Bemused. Tonight we are going to talk about the moon phases and their associations in magic. Now, I would love to do a lot more videos about the moon, so if you have anything specific that you want to learn about later on, please leave those down in the comments below. Also, make sure to stick around to the very end of this video, because today I'm going to be giving away one of my magic journals absolutely free. If you don't know what a magic journal is or what it's for, the link to that video is up here and down below in the description box. Of course, if you are tier 3 on my Patreon, you don't have to worry about the submission rules. You are automatically submitted for all giveaways. On to the topic of the hour. The moon and its phases have been observed and even revered for thousands of years. Just consider how many ancient pantheons had lunar deities. Now, not everybody feels an affinity to the moon, and there's absolutely no requirement to incorporate lunar magic or the moon at all into your spirituality or craft. This video is really for those of us who feel called to work with lunar energy, or those of you who may be curious and just want to dabble a little bit or learn a little more. And even then, for those people who feel called and those who are just curious, there's no obligation to work with the moon all the time. Incorporating lunar energy into your craft can just add a little boost to your workings and to your overall practice. First, we're going to talk about each of the 5 lunar phases and their associations. And then after that, I will provide a fun little list of different ways that you can incorporate those phases both into your craft, into your spirituality, and into your everyday life. The full moon cycle is approximately 29.5 days, going from new moon to new moon. It very much mimics that cycle of birth, death, and rebirth that we see a lot both in our natural world and in paganism and magical practices. Just consider the life cycle of the sun that we celebrate with the wheel of the year. Each Sabbath is celebrating a different phase of that. And we're also looking at polarities. The moon, just like the tide, goes from one extreme to the other and back again, hitting every other degree along the way. It increases, decreases, grows, and fades. It's a constant cycle. It's constant balance because it's never sitting for too long at just one extreme. It balances out by hitting the other extreme. It's always moving along that line of polarities. Dark moon to full moon to dark moon to full moon, and just like repeat on forever. Now, while you can get very, very specific with different phases such as gibbuses and gibbous, crescents, quarters, for most magical workings, you're just going to be focusing on the 5 major phases, which is going to be new moon, waxing, full moon, waning, and dark moon. Let's begin. We're going to start with the new moon. That's when the moon is mostly covered in shadow, but it's not completely gone from the sky because there is still this little itty bitty sliver, this little tiny crescent that is lit up. The new moon is often used interchangeably with the dark moon, which I'll full on get into once I reach the dark moon phase, because when it comes to magical purposes, there are differences. A hint as to what this phase is good for is sort of in the name. It's a time for new beginnings. And this goes for all areas of your life. It's a time of transition, change, transformation. It's a time to start planting seeds. And that's not just with spell work for new beginnings and new starts, new things and changes. That also goes for utilizing that energy in other areas of your life, which I'll talk about a little more once we get to the utilizing them section of the video. Next, we have the waxing moon. This is a several-day period where the moon looks like it is continuously growing and changing shape because more and more of the surface is being lit up and less of it is being obscured in dark. This is a time for increasing, fertility, growth, abundance. And once again, those apply to every area of your life. When I say abundance, I'm not just talking financially, although, you could use it for that purpose. It could be used for manifesting, increasing, getting more of an abundance of happiness in your life, of friendships. And of course, as that waxing moon is growing, it will eventually hit its zenith at the full moon. This, of course, is when you can see the entire surface of the moon because it is completely lit up. Some say that at this point, the moon is at its peak power. Now, I don't disagree with this statement. It is true, but I do find that it's a little bit misleading. You see, in addition to other correspondences, The full moon is a great time to boost all power in general and for pretty much any kind of spell work. The full moon is an amplifier, yes. But personally, I don't like that implication that the other phases of the moon are any less powerful, especially because of their specificity. As with most things in magic, if you are using something for a very specific purpose, or you are working with a very specific set of visualizations, or a very specific intention, you're really honing down that arrow that you're shooting out into the universe for manifestation or whatever type of working you're doing, and it automatically makes that working a little bit more likely to succeed. Now, this is just my experiences, and yours may be completely different, so this is just my personal opinion. I do find that when I'm not doing a general working, when I'm doing a very specific working, I have much more success working with the specific moon phase that it corresponds with. But again, that's my personal thing. In addition to it being a good time to do pretty much anything, the full moon is also a great time for divination. There is heightened psychic awareness in the air. It's also a time for initiating or renewing commitments. The full moon is also a wonderful night to finish things up. So if you started a several day long ritual for something to increase or manifest during the waxing moon, the full moon is a great time to finish it up. Bring it to completion. In fact, you can do a very long ritual or series of rituals that start on the new moon when you plant the seeds. Throughout the waxing moon, you're building it up, it's growing, and then complete it on the full moon. After that, we are following the cycle. The moon was growing, reached the full moon, and now it needs to start decreasing, which is the waning moon. It's another several day period. This time, the surface of the moon is slowly getting covered more and more in shadow, and the lit up surface is shrinking down. Just like the waxing moon was good for increasing, this is a wonderful time for decreasing, as well as banishing, releasing, and cleansing. This is also a good time for healing if you are looking to rid your mind or your body of something, or of course if you're looking to minimize symptoms. Finally, we have the dark moon. As I mentioned earlier, this is often used interchangeably with the term new moon, but this is actually the 3-day period where you can't see the moon at all. There's not even that little tiny sliver. It's just completely covered in shadow. As I mentioned earlier, the cycle of the moon and each of their moon phases do follow that life cycle pattern that we see all around us all the time. So the dark moon could be considered the death stage. Now, just because it's death doesn't mean it's automatically a bad thing. This is a time of letting go. It's a time for breaking down blockages and roadblocks. You can release things that just don't serve you anymore and allow them to die. It's also a great time for contemplating new changes, but hold off initiating those until the new moon. And just like with the waning moon, it's also a good time for banishing and cleansing. Now, if you're comfortable with this in your practice, the dark moon is also a perfect time for curses, hexes, jinxes, and bindings. Finally, it's also a time to do any workings for something that you want to keep hidden or secret. Okay, so those are the moon phases out of the way. You now know all those and have those correspondences. So besides the obvious of, doing a corresponding spell at the right time, what are some other ways that you can utilize the moon energy? Now, this is just a quick and some of the most common ways that you can utilize it, but I would love to hear other ideas and other ways that all of you utilize the moon in your practice. So make sure to leave those down in the comments below. So now, I don't suggest that you allow the phases of the moon to entirely dictate every choice you make and everything that you do in your life. But if you have the flexibility or the time frame to just hold off on something until the right moon phase occurs, I highly recommend you do it. So if you're looking for a new job, a new home, a new relationship, or you're gonna start a new class or a new business endeavor, maybe wait until the new moon. If you're going to ask for a raise, wait until the waxing moon, that time of growth, increase, abundance. During the waning moon, kick a bad habit, and so on. You guys get the idea. That's enough examples. As I mentioned earlier, time your spells and your rituals to line up with the corresponding moon phase. Now, I work with the moon a lot, so I try to do this as much as possible. But please keep in mind, working with the moon phases is just an added boost to your spell work. If it is something urgent, feel free to do it at any time. It's really not going to make or break it, and there are other ways you can incorporate moon energy into your working if it's not currently the right phase, such as using the corresponding moon water or images of the phase you wish you could have done it during. Speaking of, you can also charge up water in the moonlight and use that in your practice to harness the energy of that phase. I always have new moon water and full moon water on hand. I have been a little lazy and I haven't been charging up water for the other phases, but you know, shame on me. I'll get back to it. During any particular phase, you can journal or meditate on how that phase is reflected in your life. During a waxing moon, you can reflect upon things that you want to increase in your life and things that you see increasing in your life, things that you have abundance of. And reverse, in the waning moon, you can look at things that are decreasing in your life for better or worse, things that you want to decrease or die off in your life, blockages that you want to remove, or blockages that have been removed. If you ever want to personally charge yourself up, soak up with that moon energy from any of the phases, you can go outside or near a window and soak up the moonbeams. While charging crystals and other tools under the light of the full moon is very popular and usually the most common method, it doesn't always have to be a full moon, especially if you are about to use those ingredients or those tools for something specific. Like I said earlier, the full moon is a great neutral territory. You can charge them up there at any time for any purpose. But if you're about to use some items for a banishing, charge them under the dark moon. If there's an energy of a particular phase that you want to manifest in your life on a general scale, get some imagery of it and place it on your altar. Okay, that's all for today. I was trying to keep that list relatively short, but like I said, if I left anything out, leave it down in the comments below. I love to hear about the ways that you guys utilize lunar energy and our beautiful moon in your craft and in your day-to-day life. And as I mentioned, I am doing a giveaway of my magic journal. Once again, if you're curious about why you should keep a magic journal and what is in this magic journal, the link to that video is down below. All I'm going to ask you to do is share one of my videos. It can be any one of my videos. I don't care. Just pick your favorite and share it on social media, Twitter, Facebook, on Reddit, wherever you like to share videos. Even if you just text it to a friend and say, hey, I think you'd really enjoy this. Make sure to send me a screenshot of wherever you shared it and email it to me at Bewitching.Bemused@gmail.com. We are at just over 4,000 subscribers and I'm trying to hit that 5,000 mark as soon as possible because now that I'm on a roll, I'm getting greedy. So let's bring some new people into this community and share those videos. You don't need to share more than once, don't spam anybody, just get them out there. Like I said, if you are subscribed to tier 3 of my Patreon, you do not have to enter the giveaway, you are already entered. I will be announcing the winner next Wednesday, August 25th, 2022, in my 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time video. Also, now that I've mentioned the Patreon a few times, if you are interested in signing up for that, I have a list of what you get from all the tiers right on Patreon. Link for that is down below in the description box. If you happen to sign up for tier 3 before next Wednesday when the giveaway is over, I will consider that your entry and you don't have to worry about sharing anything. Final note, if you love working with the moon or you're curious about it, I did make a video about eclipse magic, which you can find right up here as well as in the description box below. That's about it. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. It really does help me out a lot and I greatly appreciate it every time. And if you're brand new here, welcome. Please subscribe and consider hitting that little bell when you subscribe. That way you get notifications for when I go live and when I put out new content, which of course is once a week, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Pacific Standard Time. That's it for now, everybody. I love you all so much. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you next week. In the meantime, stay magical.